great representation across the country and across borders today. Thank you all so much for being here. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Krista Ellis, and I'm the Community Programs Manager serving the Florida and the Gulf Coast chapters with the Parkinson's Foundation. I'm also a certified yoga teacher and meditation teacher that brings us this beautiful, beautiful, safe space of our Parkinson's Foundation's Mindfulness Mondays. This month, we are partnering with our professional education team and bringing you Mindful Mondays through the Care Partner Summit. And I'd like to take a moment to thank our PD Health at Home sponsors and our care partner sponsors, Accorda Therapeutics, Acadia Pharmaceuticals, and the Light of Day Foundation for their generous support. The programming is made possible because of their support. Thank you so much. And now I would like to turn the table over to our expert speaker, Dr. Maria Sirois. She's a positive psychologist, and she will be leading us through our Care Partner Summit Mindfulness Mondays this month and today. Dr. Sirois, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me back again, Krista. It's wonderful. Hello, everyone. I saw someone is zooming in from Curitiba, Brazil. I spent a wonderful bunch of days there not so long ago teaching positive psychology. You have a beautiful, beautiful place in the world to be zooming in from. And so thank you. I love, Krista, how you said we are here coming across borders and boundaries today, all over the continent. Last week, we talked about a meditation technique that I call mindful pausing. I want to remind you of our technique. We'll practice it again right away. And then we're going to connect that to what we call resilient self-care. In a time like a pandemic, where the stressors that we're living with, such as caretaking for someone living with a Parkinson's diagnosis, are exacerbated by a larger sort of set of issues from a global pandemic. What we have uncovered is that the most resilient of us are highly prioritizing self-care. Now, you all probably already know this. This is not new news, that self-care matters deeply. That isn't the issue. The issue is actually doing the things that actually elevate self-care. So knowing that it's important, we're not so worried about. We're actually worried about prioritizing self-care practices. I'm going to be connecting our mindful meditation practice with, first, a driving question that helps us shape any day in such a way that we elevate self-care. And then 2 other practices that you're already familiar with, but we really need deep reminders for. So let's actually begin with our mindful pausing. What I'd like to invite you to do is settle yourself in as comfortably as you can. Wherever you're seated, or even those maybe standing, some of us may be leaning, it's all good. And just as a reminder, I will ask you to take a few deep breaths and then focus on the rhythm of your breathing. We're going to allow our breath to become natural. We're going to focus on the rhythm, maybe the rise and fall of the chest or the belly, or the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nostrils. And then we will practice just focusing on our breath for a few moments. Now, during that time, the mind will do what it does. It will sort of send us to all sort of chaotic places. We'll be in the past, we'll be in the present ruminating, we'll be in the future worrying. Doesn't matter. As soon as you notice that you are distracted by a thought, a sound, a sensation, I invite you to simply say, "Oh, well," and return to breath. That's all. Oh, well, return to breath. Okay. So let us do our practice. Settling in, closing your eyes if that feels right, or just softening your gaze. I invite you to take 2 deep breaths. Inhale through the nose and exhale through your mouth, a slightly longer exhale. And again. And one more. And now allow your breath to become natural. And for a time, just a couple of moments, we're going to focus on the rhythm of our breathing as it moves in and out, in and out. If you become distracted, simply say, "Oh, well," and return your focus to breath. Now be quiet for a little bit so that we might practice. Just focusing on the breath. Should you become distracted in any way, simply say, "Oh, well," and return to breath. Very good. And now bringing your attention back to this room. Let's just take in one more deep breath together and exhale. Beautiful. There are so many reasons to practice mindfulness meditation. The big reason that I suggested to you last week relative to resilience is because by training our minds to notice that we're distracted by thoughts or feelings or sounds or sensations, and learning to say, "Oh, well," and return to our focus, that capacity generalizes. So not only do we become more relaxed in the 3 or 4 minutes that we're practicing our mindfulness, we actually learn in the middle of the day to notice that we're agitated and simply say, "Oh, well," and take a deep breath. We train ourselves, in other words, to calm down and then take our next step and then choose wisely. Now, this is crucial because the most resilient of us have figured out that in any one day, there are going to be upheavals, assaults, distressing moments, boring moments, things we're not happy about. And then there are going to be moments of ease and calm and clarity. Resilient folk do what they can to create more of those moments of ease and calm and clarity so they can make better choices about where to invest their energy. In terms of a pandemic, we want to be investing our energy more and more in the domain of self care. Why? For 2 reasons. Because self care is the number one preventer of burnout. The last thing any of us wants to experience as we're trying to take care of someone we love or care for in the field of living with a Parkinson's diagnosis is to be so exhausted that we feel like we can't show up. So we practice mindfulness so that we can prioritize self-care, which will prevent burnout. But the other reason we practice self-care is because we matter. No matter who we are, no matter how important other people's lives are, how significant they feel to us, we matter. And in that mattering, in that prioritizing of our own mattering, we actually strengthen our resilience. You see, it's very hard to be resilient if you don't consider that you matter. I want to teach you a fast skill that resilient folk practice. I'm going to put it in the chat. It's actually a question that you want to consider at the beginning of every day. So maybe when you first wake up, or maybe when you're having your first morning cup of tea or cup of coffee or that early breakfast. And here is the question: what can I do today that might strengthen me, calm me, or inspire me? So I've posted the question in the chat. Resilient folk shape their day, and we shape our day in these directions to either feel stronger, calmer, or inspired. Now, the good news is most of us have answers to these questions. So I'd love for you to post in the chat now one answer to this question. You don't even have to tell us what category it is, whether it's strengthening you, calming you, or inspiring you. Let's just get a sample of the kinds of things that might help us. So take deep breaths, go for a walk, some yoga, like nature, working out, exercise, taking a bath, walking, exercise. Now it's going really fast, playing violin, gardening, hugging my dog, devotion, stay in the moment, pray, go for a swim, walk, etc. We know what actually helps. The difference between resilient people and non-resilient people is that resilient people actually do the thing that helps. Now, here's the thing. I know you've got a lot on your shoulders. I know you've got a lot in your heart, and full permission to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe even an amazing 12 minutes to do one thing every day that nourishes you, calms you down, inspires you, or strengthens you. This is what resilient folk do. We don't ask that we put ourselves in the center of the day for the entire day. That would be unreasonable. But we do ask, and we do prioritize self-care for a few minutes every day. So let's tie this back to our mindful pausing. Imagine you've done what most of us do. You wake up and you start taking care of your responsibilities. That could be the laundry, the food, the dog, the horses, the person you're caring for who's living with a diagnosis. You start checking things off. You call the insurance company, you call the da 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 da, and the day becomes captured. And I use that word deliberately, becomes captured by the to-do list. Resilient folk absolutely manage their responsibilities and they prioritize themselves. But sometimes, like everyone, we forget and we let the day take over. If you've been practicing our mindful pausing, where we notice that we're agitated, we notice we're distracted, we notice we're rushing, we notice our head is hurting, we notice we've been clamping our teeth, we notice distraction. We learn to pause, say, oh, well, return to breath. And then I want you to bring that question alive again. So the way you use the tool is the first moment of the day, you ask yourself, what might I do today to calm myself, strengthen myself, or inspire myself? That's step one. Step two, you prioritize it. And step three, if you lose track during the day and you don't do the thing that will strengthen you or inspire you or calm you, then you go back. You go back to your quieting meditation. You ask yourself the question again, and you prioritize. Resilient people recalibrate all the time. We recalibrate all the time. Next week, we'll be talking about certain kinds of mental distress. that make self-care difficult. Things like jumping to conclusions and taking things personally, catastrophizing. But we're building this in as sort of a second step. Our first step is our mindful pausing. Our second step is prioritizing self-care. Now, I want to layer in one more self-care teaching, but we're going to actually do what we want ourselves to do on a regular day. Before we learn something new or take something more on, we want to get quiet and calm. So let's do our mindfulness practice again. Now, this one's going to be a little shorter. It's going to be just a minute or so. And I'll be quiet most of the time. So I'm just going to remind you of how we begin. We take some deep breaths. We quiet and allow our breath to become natural. We simply focus on our breath. If we become distracted, we say, oh, well, and return to calm. So let's just begin together. Allow your breath to become natural, and we'll practice for about 1 minute. Beautiful. I'd like you to post in the chat how that helped. Just a word or a phrase. How did it help to quiet yourself again and focus on your breath? Yeah, so some calmness, centering, reorientation, slowing you down. I can smell things. Right. Yes, and someone wrote, I need to practice more. Fair enough. Full permission to practice a little bit every day. The good news is meditation does get easier with practice and it becomes deeper and richer. Yes, remove distractions, gorgeous. Shoulder stress is a little better, excellent. Okay. Now, a second sort of category of attention we want to pay attention to in terms of self-care. I'm going to write this in the chat. Is saying no and saying yes. Resilient folk prioritize that which brings us strength, serenity, or inspiration. We prioritize the good. In order to do so, every single person here needs to get a little better at saying no and a little better at saying yes. Now, what do we want to say no to? Or no, thank you. We want to say no, thank you to things that drain us. We want to say no, thank you to the things that feel overwhelming in the moment, right? It never fails for me. Whenever tax time comes around, I feel flooded. I just feel flooded. And I've learned to say, I'm going to say no to that today until I feel ready. And usually it takes about a week and a half before I feel ready to take it on, my taxes. It's like I need an adjustment period, right? So we want to say no to things that drain us. We want to say no to things that overwhelm us in the moment, full permission to get back to them when we're ready. And we want to say no to the things that are unimportant, irrelevant, not helpful. So Just out of curiosity, anybody have anything that they want to start saying no to in the chat? Just let's see a sampling. What are you maybe a little bit ready to start saying no to? Things that drain us, they're unimportant, irrelevant, and sometimes things that are overwhelming. So some guilt, some anger. So we've got some emotions right away. Toxic people, negative thinking, certain people. Yep. Irritation, family drama, Facebook, ready. I gave up Facebook in December. It is life changing. Phone calls, brooding. I'm done with brooding. I'm done with panic, right? When possible, things that don't give me joy. Absolutely. Marilyn, she's begging us. Stop me before I volunteer again, right? Okay. Self-care demands that we actually say no a little bit more often in order that we can say yes a little more often to that which is life-giving. Life-giving, like increasing our vitality, our strength, our energy, our love of living. So it's interesting that paradoxically saying no a little more frees us up to say yes to the things that give us joy, the things that actually inspire us, the things that make our days worth living, the things that calm us down. It becomes this beautiful positive spiral like this. We begin the day, or at some point in the day, we practice our meditation. That calms us down and centers us and reminds us that we have a choice. Oh, well, I can return to calm. We begin the day by asking, what might I do today to inspire myself, calm myself, or strengthen myself? And then we prioritize it. We book it into our day. And throughout the day, we invite ourselves, what might I say no to today? And what am I ready to say yes to? Now, again, notice we didn't have to study this. We didn't have to go to a library for a week to figure out what am I ready to say. We know what we're ready to say no to. Now, I would love for you to add into the chat one thing you are ready to say yes to. One thing that you might love, that inspires you, that makes it feel like a day worth living. My art, myself, forgiving myself, seeing friends more safely, reading deep Bible study, a vacation, laughing. Look, even just reading these is elevating. Reading these at Christy, yeah, pick one thing I can actually finish, right? Seeing my grandchildren. Notice that your answers are coming in the category of the physical realm, the emotional realm, the mental realm, the relational realm, all spiritual realm, all of it gets included. All of it gets included. Oh, well, Brenda made the beautiful connection. Oh, well, is my way to saying no. And saying no, by the way, is my way to saying yes. Now, it works the opposite way too. The more you give yourself permission to say yes, the easier it is to say no. So the more you actually prioritize self-care, the easier it will be to say no. Both are true. Saying no is my way to saying yes. Saying yes makes it easier to say no. Because by the way, if you're filling your day with the things you actually love that strengthen, inspire, and calm you, you're going to get better at saying, nope, not doing that again. Nope, no, thank you, right? So we're having a little play here between three important elements. Self-care, mattering to oneself, which we practice by meditating, which we practice by asking ourselves, what one thing can I do today to inspire, strengthen, or calm myself, and which we practice by activating saying no and saying yes. Christy, you've said it all right there. I'm not perfect. I'm human. I'm saying yes to my humanity and no to perfectionism, right? Beautiful, both in the same sentence. So we have just a couple of minutes left. I want us to practice one more time, and we're going to add something in this time. So deep breaths, allow our breath to become natural. We focus on our breath. We get distracted. We say, oh, well, return to breath. This time, as you are just focusing on your breathing. I would love for you to add in a simple word or phrase with your breath that tells you that you matter. So I might repeat, I matter in my head, not out loud, in my head. I matter. You might repeat love. You might repeat, I love myself, but some simple positive word or phrase that reminds you that you matter. We'll pair that with our breathing. Okay, let's practice again. Deep breath. And again. And one more. And this time, as you allow your breath to become natural, bring in a word or a phrase that means to you that you matter. Beautiful. And when you feel ready, open your eyes. And if it feels comfortable, I invite you to lace your fingers together, just if that feels comfortable. And maybe do a gentle stretch, maybe forward, maybe even up, maybe even out. Just slow gestures. Here's the thing I want to leave you with today, and I'm so looking forward to being with you again next Monday. 3 minutes of meditation opens the door to serenity and clarity. Clarity about how we might take care of ourselves just today. The future, that's tomorrow, that's far away. The past, it's already happened. The moment of transformation is in the present day. Mindfulness practice brings us into the present in such a way that we can be calm and clear and choose wisely how to care for ourselves, which is exactly what resilient people do. Krista, Annie, and the team, Courtney, Jennifer, thank you so much for bringing me back on today. And I so look forward to being with you next week.
Thanks, Maria. Appreciate it so much. So I will encourage you all to maintain that practice 3 minutes a day, as Maria has given us some homework. And I'd like to end us on a few notes for those of you who may not know who the Parkinson's Foundation is. So wanting to share our mission in every day and everything that we do, we're working to make life better for people with Parkinson's. And today's programming is an example of that mission. We pursue our mission through 3 goals: by improving care for people with Parkinson's, advancing research toward a cure, and empowering and educating our global Parkinson's community. We do have other virtual events if you're interested in tuning in further for the Care Partner Summit's PD Health at Home events. We welcome Wellness Wednesdays and Fitness Fridays each week. This Wellness Wednesday, the Care Partner Summit will be exploring slowed thinking, slowed speech, and slowed movement. If this sounds interesting to you or to your partner with Parkinson's disease, you can visit parkinson.org/PD Health. And next week, as Maria alluded to, we will be talking about grounded optimism for care partners. So feel free to join us next Monday with Maria. And finally, the Parkinson's Foundation is here for you. If there's anything you need along your journey with Parkinson's disease, resources, materials, any kind of support, referrals to an expert near you, you can visit our website at parkinson.org or reach out to our bilingual helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO. If you prefer to communicate via email, you can email them at helpline@parkinson.org. And that concludes our session for today. So I will see each of you next Mindful Monday. That's May 17th. We'll be exploring grounded optimism. Thank you, Maria, for your expert guidance today, and for all of you for engaging in your self-care. Appreciate you all being here. Have a great week.